And just like that, here we are.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, guys? Uncharted Conversations, another episode number 4. We're up to 4 episodes.
Wow, I can't believe it already.
I know. We have so much fun on the show. We don't know what episode we're at. And it feels like we've been doing this. I've been doing podcasts a long time, but it feels like I've been doing this with my wife for like forever. It's been such a pleasure with the guests that we've had so far. And as always, I want to thank our last guest, Catherine Sorolos, who was a psychic medium on our last episode. She lives overseas in Scotland, and I want to thank her for being such an awesome guest on our show because she was a lot of fun to have.
Definitely a lot of fun. It was
thank
great.
you for the viewers and listeners for sharing our show. I can't believe people shared our last episode. 99 shares in just our 4th episode.
Thanks
guys. To Catherine and everybody that watched it. Just want to say thank you to you guys for being an awesome viewers and listeners for our podcast. Get the boring stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
So where's our website?
You can our website you can find online, www.haasparanormal.com.
Okay, and where can they watch our show?
You can watch us tonight on Facebook or YouTube.
Right. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
And it'll let you know when we're going to do live videos and whatever video streams we put out there. If you don't mind sharing our stream, and we're also on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook, Haas Paranormal. That's where Uncharted Conversations is live. That's where it broadcasts live. That's, I guess exclusive on Haas Paranormal Facebook page. So anyway, before I ramble on about all that, let's get going here. We have another amazing guest as we continue to highlight psychic mediums. And I think psychic mediums, me personally, I love working with them because I think they're such gifted people. But not all psychic mediums do the same work in the field. Yeah. They all have their different beliefs,
different methods,
the different style. And it's amazing, how each individual, how they do their work with psychic mediumship and, their abilities and stuff. Some believe in helping spirits cross over, some don't. So it's kind of, interesting how each one works differently with people in the field as well as with teams. Some psychic mediums like to challenge themselves and not know anything on an investigation. We like working that way as well. With psychic mediums, we don't tell them much information.
Yeah, I think most do.
Yeah, and right, and it's kind of like a challenge for them too to see what they get, and then verify later.
Yeah,
like with the people that they're helping, to verify what they're experiencing. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody to our guest. I have her bio here, so I'm going to read a little bit about it to everybody to understand a little bit about her background. All right, so Michelle Roos is who we have tonight. We welcome Michelle from Iowa, Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. She represents that paranormal team. They have different chapters all over the place, and I met quite a few of them already, and wonderful people to work with so far. But Michelle's background says here, she's a psychic medium, a trance medium, psychometry, para-counselor, ordained minister. She's a demonologist / exorcist, so she deals a little bit more in the darker side of things. Psychic advisor. Again, like I mentioned, she's with Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. Founder, former board directors of the Director of Services for North America for the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. Michelle spent multiple years in the paranormal field. She has continued her study and credited with multiple degrees, including a doctor in metaphysics degree, a doctor in divinity degree, a degree in spiritual warfare and paranormal ministry, while studying at the Universal Life Church Seminary. Then Michelle studied counseling and para-counseling, atheism and agnostic, and religion, ancient African practices to modern take on religion. Wow. Michelle also studied the effects of satanic abuse deriving from cult activity. and her bio there. I mean, it goes on and on. If you want to go on our Facebook page
awesome.
or on our show or YouTube channel, I put the full bio of her bio on there. So we're going to get into her background more as we ask questions. I'm going to get her in here. Michelle, thanks for doing the show. Welcome to Uncharted Conversations. You know, it's great to have you.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here, and hopefully I can, step up with my game since you already had Catherine on,
Well, like I said, I was telling our listeners and viewers, every second medium does things differently in the field.
Yes.
You all do different things, and I respect that about everybody individually, because each person, just like investigators, brings something, and psychic mediums bring something different to the table regarding your background. You all have different personal beliefs in what you do, whether it be crossing spirits over or not crossing spirits over, and how you practice cleansings and stuff. Everybody does things differently. So,
yes.
And I appreciate that about what the gifts that you guys have.
Thank you.
No problem. So before we begin, how about we just maybe give a little brief explanation to our listeners? How did you know, at what age did you have abilities? At what age did you know, I think something's going on here and I need to learn more about what's going on? And, tell us a little bit how you got started.
Well, I was pretty young. I think maybe my first real, I would call it a nightmare as a child. Just to kind of let the viewers know the way I see things, I see it on the darker side. So I don't always get the beautiful light and the angelic type of looks. I get them as when they pass. So, for an example, if somebody, had taken their life with a shotgun to the head, I would see that moment, but that's how they keep appearing to me, even if they've crossed over. But to let me tell the story, whether is it kind of one of those, suicide, murder, and then telling the story. So my imaginary friends, I would say, were very nightmarish. So it was kind of one of those, I was terrified and didn't really know what to do with it. It wasn't something you spoke about because it's like, oh, you're telling tall tales, things like that. I know the first time it actually really came out was during a big family dinner. And one of my aunts appeared on the dinner table and was making me laugh and giggle. And I had said she was on the table, and they got really upset because I've never met this aunt, didn't know what she looked like. She had passed away before my mother was born. So it was kind of one of those, they kind of looked at me like that, but then it was shrugged off. So it was something that I had to deal with as a child. Dolls would kind of move and do things. And so everything was always shoved away. And it was trying to deal with it as a child of, is this real? You don't know what to do.
Right.
And so as you get older, you suppress some of it, things kind of fade away a little bit. They would pop out here and there, but it was different parts of my life that I was like, I'm not ready for this to come completely out. I am still trying to understand, how do I work with it? What do I do to make myself feel comfortable? And then finally it came to the point, it was like I was on the crazy train. There was no more stopping it. It just went full force, and it was like, you're going to have to be ready. So then I just learned how to adapt with it and work with it and pretty much say, not right now. And since it was always on the darker side and there were more stories than what we would see in history books, that's why I started doing more of the studies and going to that, because I was actually telling stories of people who were forgotten and who were not popular in that history, and that would be like a lot of the prostitutes, children who were abused, homeless people. And so those stories started coming out at a lot of locations. It's like, remember me, not the person who owned the home.
Right.
But remember what happened to me while I was here. Then I knew my calling was coming towards me, and I had to start telling those stories. And when I go to places, I'm like, listen, you might not know this piece,
Right.
but you might want to look into it.
Right. Right. What?
Interesting.
That's cool. That you get into the history of
Yeah.
of the spirits that you were communicating with, because they do. They want their messages out. They want their stories told,
Yeah.
and that's why a lot of activity happens, is because that's what they're trying to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. What did, at what point in time did you feel, what direction did you want to go in after knowing you had the abilities and the stuff that you knew that you had a handle now? Like, what direction did you want to originally go in, or did you kind of know, like, with this calling, or?
My calling was so strong that I really didn't have a choice. I tried to, what I call the love notes of, your loved ones coming to you, giving you messages. But it wasn't coming across. Negative energy was coming across. Different types of creatures were coming across. So when I see certain negative energy, for my brain to, just process it, it kind of looks like, scary creatures like on the movie Alien.
Right.
And that's how I know when there's a lot of negative. And as I start talking and was working with a couple of priests and some, pastors, they're like, you have something very unique and this can help us. And that's when I started saying, okay, I need to do it this way. This is my calling. So I just started venturing that way. And the more I do, the more comfortable I am and knowing that I'm on the right track.
Well, because of your abilities being more on the darker side, when you were venturing into the paranormal field, working with teams or other individual, paranormal investigators and stuff, were you maybe apprehensive a little about, what kind of darker energy you might run into, like, ahead of time, or?
Yes. It's almost like as we're pulling up at sometimes in these locations or homes or any, because we still help people on the private sector.
Right.
I'm already getting the visions. I'm already starting to feel the anxious. So a lot of people don't understand, a lot of the negative energy that can form is not just what's in the place, but the people's feelings that have gone in there, whether it's fear or depression, and it feeds into it. So it starts creating its own life form. And I pick up on all that. So I can see that stuff, like when you go to the asylums, we do have mental health issues, but what I catch is, when they were experimenting on people, that starts bringing in a different type of energy, which actually starts growing into that negative. And that's what I pick up. But I also, I pick up what they went through. I can feel it. If they were putting them in, like drowning them or whatever, I get that. I feel it. I see it.
Right.
And I'll be the first to tell you, it still scares the hell out of me. But I know I have to do it because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I tell everybody that we work with all the time that I don't care how long you've been doing it and what things you're into in the paranormal field. Sometimes stuff just really startles and scares the hell out of you. I don't care how experienced.
Like your own shadow.
Yeah. Right. It's true. Or like a noise that's just random, that's normal.
Like,
and you're sitting there quiet because you're not, you're trying not to whisper or anything.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like this loud bang comes out of nowhere, and you're like, ah.
Or we're like, because we don't want to say anything and not capture it. So we're like,
yeah.
Yes. I've been there and done that. And sometimes I scare myself more because the oddest thing is I am night blind.
Oh, wow.
So just walking somewhere, but when I'm really, honed into what I'm supposed to do, it becomes almost like daylight to me then. When when like we talk about the third eye, it's open, it's like my spotlight. So then I'm focused on that. And so if I see my own shadow of stuff, I have jumped, I have yelled, and I tell everybody that's with me, if you see me run faster. I mean, that's in my, paperwork.
Yeah.
You see Michelle run, just keep going.
Yeah. Did you ever see, this movie goes way back, but did you ever watch the movie The Beastmaster with Eric Singer, and he would communicate with the animals because
Yes.
he had that eye, like
That
that's what
eye,
almost
yep.
you were like describing, because it reminds me of his ability to communicate with the animals, and he saw everything through their vision. Yeah, so it's kind of like that in a way.
Well, I'm kind of seeing some of the comments. So everybody's kind of saying hello. And I just want to say hello to all of them since they are saying it to me. And thank you for being on with me. You guys don't forget to share this out. I want to beat the last number.
We have a little competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always take time to say hello to our people in the chat because there's a lot of people.
I kind of seen my name, so I thought I'd say hi.
Definitely. Absolutely. You have your followers, so they're following you here. So I want to say hello to everybody. Kelly, Erin, we have Candy, Derek, Stephanie, Cindy. I want to say hello to everybody. Thanks for tuning in and following our show tonight. Thanks for stopping by. So I lost my train of thought.
Well, we also we'll take questions from the chat also. So if you have a question,
if you're all right with that,
put it in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had a really good question to ask, and I just lost.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So we do work with different mediums, and like Matt said earlier, they do have different ways of working. And we have worked with mediums that are they do the crossing over at the end, and we work with mediums that don't believe in that. Just let it be. What are your thoughts on that? On your beliefs?
Well, actually, I do both. So when I go into a private home, or if I go into a place where they're wanting the help to have it crossed over, I do that. What I do is I'm kind of considered like an anchor. So it uses me to move on.
Okay.
But a lot of locations don't want anybody crossed over. So I do respect that location. If there is someone that needs to be crossed over because it is, to the best interest of the spirit, I do talk to those owners and I explain to them. A lot of people don't realize when you have haunted locations that everybody go into, you have actually the location, the spirits that are part of that location. But as you're bringing all these investigators in or all these events, different types of portals are opened. And so you're getting other spirits that are coming in that probably never belong there and they need to move on.
Right.
And so those are kind of one of those things that we talk about. So I do both, but yeah, it's, I believe they need to, especially if they are children. And we've run into some of those, and we made sure those were actually the ones that we need to pass over right away.
Right.
There's some that just don't want to go.
Right. Now, with the ones that don't want to go, do you just kind of leave them and just, kind of communicate with them like, all right, but you got to know your boundaries?
Yes. The biggest ones I run into actually, and it's extremely sad, is ones who have committed suicide because they're still having that same doubt after death of I'm not worthy enough to go cross over. I wasn't worthy enough to live. And to get them to feel that they can be, then, sometimes it works. Sometimes it takes a lot longer because everyone, we don't understand what the last words were before they've done something. Okay. Everybody everybody has their own beliefs, but I can tell you the ones that I have ran into, still feel they're not worthy enough to cross over to the light. And then a lot of times you just have to help them.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
It is sad. Yeah. And like I said, everybody has their own belief systems of that. But the one thing I always say before they have done it, we don't know, did they pray, whatever their faith, belief system is, have they done something? So we can't always just put that line, heaven and hell.
Yeah.
There's still that in between. And we want to make sure, that we do cross the ones. I mean, because everyone deserves to be crossed over.
Sure.
Now, do you believe the ones that are like if you get crossed over when you pass away, you cross over, do you believe they can come back?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
We have free
like a free
will.
will, right?
Yes. And it's on both sides.
Great
Okay.
question.
And that's how a lot of our love notes come, because a lot
Okay.
of our family members still want to let us know everything is okay.
Right.
You know, they're in a better place. They're happy. I believe we have free will on both sides. I mean, you think about it, if you look on the biblical side, you know, even the angels had free will.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something we've given on, and I don't think that ever leaves. And we have free will because even, you know, when we talk about possessions and things like that, we can't just be possessed. We have free will to invite it in or say stay out and fight it. So it goes on both sides.
Yeah.
And you think if somebody was if something was trying to possess a person and they say no, absolutely no, is there that little possibility that it could still possess them? Or
well, because possession is very rare, and,
right.
and a lot of people have to do that. Oppression is what's the worst.
Okay.
Because it hangs on you so much, because it breaks you down. It wants to break you down that you don't want to fight anymore to get the opportunity to go to a full possession.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody has enough fight, you know, a lot of people think you just go in, you throw holy water, you know, you do the rites and everything, and it just pops. That it doesn't work, because the person you're dealing with has to have the fight in them to make sure whatever's on them, they expel it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because if their intention is not to expel, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you do have, again, it's all that free will line of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I remembered what I was going to get into before. So just to backtrack a little bit, when you were mentioning about the suicides and stuff, it made me think of where I work, because we had a couple of rough years at where I work, because we had a couple of suicides at the high school, and it really hit home to some of the people in the school, because you know they knew them almost their whole high school life. And you know the children were just so devastated, and their emotions were so, you know, all over the place. And the school where I work is like active, you know, paranormal wise, because I tell everybody, you think about it, all the emotions and all that energy from all different types of personalities in a school, and you know it's harnessing all that, and it's keeping all that energy in a bubble.
Yes.
And when you walk in there as an empath like me, like there was one day where I told her, I was like, I don't know if I'm depressed or if I should go talk to my doctor, get some medication, or is it my empathic abilities where I just wanted to sit down and break down and cry. And I was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I couldn't control myself from crying. And I was telling her, like, I think it was something at the school, because I think I ran into something there, and I was just like, couldn't believe how much it hit me.
And you think about it, schools especially, you think about all the emotions that go through middle school, high school, right? And you're also looking at people going through puberty, and so hormones are involved. That is an actual imprint that stays in those halls. So being empathic or any type of sensitive, you're going to feel this whirlwind of different emotions. You're going to feel like you're going crazy. And it's so funny, because we went and did something at a high school. It was like an after prom. You know, I was trying to do past life readings for some of these children. But there was so much emotions and stuff of these kids that was oozing out. I couldn't even do a past life. I was getting all of their sorrows, and it was actually breaking me down, because I was seeing how many actually, you know, were contemplating suicide or suicide pacts, or just hate to be schooled, you know, and bullied and everything. And it was so overwhelming to me that it got to the point I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I have never felt that many emotions in one room.
Wow.
So I'm giving you kudos on that one, Matt.
I know. It's like sometimes like they'll throw me outside to a post outside, and I'm kind of like thankful, even though I'm still there. But like I'm outside and I feel a little bit better being outside. But when I'm inside, I have to try to really control, what's going on because they're
Oh, yes,
it's crazy.
Yeah, no,
it is. It is.
understand that.
So, but my next question for you is, since you work with paranormal investigators and teams, how do you like to work with teams? Do you like to go in on your own? Do they like to work where you don't know much information? How do you like to work with paranormal teams?
Actually, I don't want to know anything about it.
Okay.
And the reason being is because I don't want to get mixed signals.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff that I get is so raw that I don't want it to be like, well, this doesn't make sense because somebody told me this.
Yeah.
When we go to a home, they do the whole background. We have intake coordinators that do things. We find out about pretty much everything in their life. I'll know just bits and pieces for my safety.
Mhm.
But when we go in, I normally will walk around with someone first and just kind of get the feel of the place and kind of know what we might be expecting. It doesn't always hit right away. There's times, everything kind of lays back. I call it dormant stage until everybody that comes in, it feeds off your energy. Then everything starts coming more and more to life.
Wow. Cool. How do you prepare yourself when you go into a location where you don't know much, like being that you don't know what's ahead of you? How do you prepare yourself?
Well, if anybody goes on a road trip with me, they kind of know that I play all different types of music from
Mhm.
70s to 80s to country, do a lot of singing, do a lot of laughing and jokes. I have to keep my energy real high before I go. And then I also do little prayers to myself just for my own protection.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a lot of singing and goofiness going. And, the road trip has to be exciting to make it an exciting evening too.
Sure.
Then I can, because I'm so filled with all that happiness, that becomes my barrier.
Oh, okay. Nice. That's cool. When you go to a location with teams or yourself, do you get stuff? I know some people sometimes their abilities are so good where they'll get stuff on their way there. Does that happen to you often?
Very much so. I start tapping in as I get closer. I start getting pictures of things.
Right.
So when I see stuff when I'm in a place, it's like me talking to you guys. I see them like that. But
Yeah.
as I'm going to the location, I get it almost like an old black and white movie, with the little, you see all the stuff inside of it. And I start getting that, just kind of preparing me, you're about to go in somewhere. So.
And do you think the spirits know that you're going there?
I strongly believe so.
Yeah.
Because there's times when I've gone up to something that's negative and we're pulling up and it just comes into my face. And, it's like this big black cloud of, come on. And then I'm like, here we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. We've actually had quite a few investigations where we'd have the homeowners call us or constantly get in touch with us saying things are getting worse. This is happening, that's happening. And I'm like, because they know we're coming to either remove them or help you. So they know what's going on.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah. Sometimes the last minute, the homeowner's like, I don't want you to come.
Yeah.
So we're like,
yeah.
All right.
And we tell the homeowners, when we do the homeowners, we let them know that if we're doing phone conversations or we're on Skype and do video, to be prepared because it will get worse before it gets better.
Right.
And it wants to make sure that they try to cancel. And I'm like, the first part of it is you need to take control of your home because it's your home. And that is to make sure you get the help.
Right.
And that is your first step of taking things back.
Right. What's your favorite part of doing an investigation with a team or when you go out? Do you like some mediums like to investigate like separately from their ability? They try to separate the two. So if like you're into the equipment part of things, like do you try to separate your abilities from the technical aspect of an investigation?
Sometimes everybody will tell you I have a habit of not hitting the record button. So I don't get those because when you get into that zone and the stories are starting to come, people, they have to realize you forget that not everybody sees it like you.
Right.
But I'm talking the whole time, so I'm just kind of like, well, I think everybody's seeing.
Yeah.
But I love to have the equipment because it validates myself, because I can bring spirit in.
Right.
So I can be strong enough for them to come forward. And actually, as they're answering my questions before I say something, the equipment will do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that is really, and I always try to flip the way the equipment is, because, we always say turn the light on or make it flash 3 times.
Mhm.
We try to do it in a different way, and we're like, we want you to turn it down a notch. So we had it go opposite. So when I was having the conversation and was telling them, it was also doing it on the equipment. And so that kind of gives validation for everybody.
Wow. Cool. What has
I like
been in your how do I put this? On an investigation, what has been visually like the best experiences you've seen a team experience without your kind of abilities? Like, what have you seen with your eye with other people that you definitely would think was something paranormal or not?
It was one where we weren't on an investigation. It was a couple years ago. We went to Gettysburg, and to actually see, because I have my, back and forth with when it comes to orbs, but these were actually orbs. I was, I was corrected, but it was during the day, and they were coming, and everybody got to see them. And then we were just back in Gettysburg, and the cannon fire and the musket fire was heard by everybody, not just me.
Yeah.
So, those are kind of those moments of, see, I told you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I know what you're saying about the orbs and stuff, because
Yeah.
what's
You
funny
do that. Yeah, you see them.
is
Yeah.
the last couple of years for me, I've never seen orbs in my whole life until recently. And all of a sudden, I've been seeing them with my own eye.
Mhm.
And I was never a believer into orbs because of all the skepticism with the, the dust, the bugs, and the lens flare, all
Yes.
different things that you can explain, which you got to be logical when it comes to photographs and whatnot. But when you see them with your own eyes, you're like, that's a freaking orb. I'm like, how do you explain that with your own eyes,
And that's the thing, the energy in Gettysburg anyways is so strong. So even walking on the grounds, you can feel everything. But with having that energy, the orbs, coming out, it was huge, blue and oranges. And as you're doing it and still hearing the residual cannon fire going with them, and having people there to be able to do it, it's kind of an amazing feeling, because then it's kind of like, you guys got to enjoy it with me.
Right, exactly. What has been
place.
Yeah, Gettysburg is like, to me, is like the number one most
Hotspot,
hotspot of all time. Absolutely, hands down. So, but what has been the darkest moment for you as a medium and your abilities, whether it be on an investigation or for you aside from an investigation? Have you had a moment where you've had a really dark moment?
Yes. Getting really involved with someone, trying to help them, and the darkness that was coming out of them was actually coming after me at night, fighting it off and trying to help that person at the same time. My home is my sanctuary. That's one thing I tell everybody in an investigation. Your home, you should not be doing stuff in your home. That is your way. That's where you have to be safe.
Yeah.
And when you come into my room and you're like that, then that's kind of the time where that's when you sit up and go, okay, something's not right.
Right.
And that can actually mess with you, because then now you're doubting, okay, did I miss something? Did I not do something with a barrier? And when you start questioning yourself, it makes it worse. Then you have to fight it away.
Wow, cool. If you ran into somebody who wanted to learn themselves how to harness their abilities or gifts, what would you recommend somebody? What age would you recommend them to start learning if they wanted to go forward? How to improve their abilities and how to control them and do better with them. What would you recommend? What would be your advice?
My advice actually would be right at the beginning. If a child's coming to you and talking about an imaginary friend, but it doesn't sound like someone from your family, or the clothing, the era is different, be open with that child. Because the first thing I would tell anybody who has abilities, the first thing you need to learn is how to protect yourself. You can't take control of your ability or hone it in if you're not able to protect yourself. Because what happens is you're walking around wide open and everything's coming at you. And children are very wide open. So teaching that child of little things they can do, like, maybe they were into the stones, to put a barrier in the room with beautiful stones, from amethyst to obsidian to tourmaline, but also letting them talk through it. Because sometimes when they talk through it, the process is going on for them, they kind of push it away. Because with a child, as soon as they tell you something, it's gone.
Right.
That's the same way with the abilities. Sometimes they're getting nagged because they're not mentioning it. As soon as they mention something, that spirit has been heard. And a big percentage of the time, the spirit takes off. So that's kind of what you want to do. I do work with children to let them know they're not alone. And that is one of the biggest things. And some of them might only have it as a child, and as soon as they hit the puberty stage, it disappears.
Yeah.
It might come back later in life.
Right.
At least they were educated prior, and it's very important. With paranormal being so much out there right now, it's on TV, it's on Facebook, it's everywhere. People talk about it more.
Yeah.
So, but you still have to kind of take that time and find the different ways of doing it. And if you're feeling lost and don't know how to do it yourself, call someone that can help you. How can I speak to my kid? If they're very young, have them draw pictures.
Yeah.
Something that process will go through to help them continue on.
Yeah. See, for us older folks, it was harder to kind of learn it, and talk about it, and like for even older people than me, like people like during those time periods, it was like taboo, and if you spoke about it, you'd be laughed at. Thought people thought you were crazy, but you were right. You hit it right on the nail when you said it's more on TV, it's more out there. Everybody's now more aware of the paranormal things, and
everybody has abilities.
Right. Yeah, but what's good about everything in actuality is that at least they have somewhere to go.
Yes. Well, that's the biggest thing.
The hardest part probably as an adult then would be, how do you shut it down, when you get home after your investigation or after, whatever came through to you? How, would you just tell it go away, or
grounding?
Well, grounding
helps, but when you start controlling ability, you can shut it down like you do with a light switch. What I do, and I tell a lot of people, you don't have need abilities to do things like this, but getting into a tub or a shower, using Epsom salt to kind of just wash it away, putting a spray on, a scent that you like, or as you're winding down, have some incense burning. And what that does, not everybody can meditate. I am not good at meditating at all. I'm a squirrel.
Yeah.
So I have to find different ways of taking care of myself. Each individual will do something different, but if you give them the basics, then they can pick and choose, because again, it has to be part of the intention that you're doing. So you can give somebody a shopping list and they can get the stuff, but then they have to use it the way they need to use it.
Right.
Because then what I do for myself might not work for you guys. And vice versa. So there is kind of an outline of here are some things that can help you, and then you go with that, and everybody finds a way of doing it.
Yeah.
I normally tell the spirit to stay where they're at because they're not welcome to come with me, and they're not allowed to follow me, and they listen pretty well.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah. We had a serious attachment when we first met, a couple of years after we first met, and it took a long time for us to get rid of it because we dealt with it for a couple of years before deciding, all right, we have to do something. As investigators, we're like we're here helping people. How do we help ourselves?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how many other teams, especially these days, with the way the world is going through the pandemic and everything, and the energies that are going on. What kind of things that are going on out there? Do you find yourself more busier now than ever?
Yes, the pandemic for sure.
Yeah.
And, and there's a couple different reasons. There was a lot of self-manifestations because we had fear coming across social media, on TV and stuff about the pandemic. People were already, dealing with either depression, anxieties, different things like that. People with abilities, especially empathic people, were having it because for some reason they were absorbing all, the sorrow from the deaths and the anxiety and the, anger, that it just started swirling, and it just became, it was like a dark cloud, like a tornado just going all, and it was going around the world.
Yeah.
It wasn't just here in the States.
Right.
And then you have, different people with abilities that were just, going crazy because they were trying to tap in, and it became it was almost like a spiritual warfare going on because, our own demons were coming out, so we didn't know what was, our own emotions, what was actually, the actual spirits, and it kind of mixed together. So it was very hard.
Yeah, I can't imagine. We do have some more people in the chat. Just want to, there's questions going on.
Yeah.
We do have one that says, Michelle, do you mind explain the downside of suppressing abilities?
That is the worst. So what happens is when your calling is very, very strong and you keep trying to suppress it, just like I did too, it will actually get you on the physical side. It will also, start getting you depressed. It can make you physically sick, because you don't know who can you trust to say it. And again, this is not putting anyone down, but because the paranormal field has gotten so big, again, everybody has an ability, whether it's true or not true, you can't judge. But then there were some people who really have strong abilities that wanted to hold it in going, because I don't want to be like everybody else, that it can go really bad. And it can also cause mental issues too, real bad mental issues, because it starts messing with you and you're not sure what you're seeing, what's going on. And so, it can be very dangerous.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah, and actually what you said makes a lot of sense, actually, because I think a lot of that happens with me personally, because there are moments where I'm like she just explained today. There are times where I'm just perfectly fine, and then like I'll like a switch. I'll just turn like a switch. Whether I don't want to say it's bipolar, but like
it feels that way. It really does, because when you're absorbing, you got to remember people. Your empaths especially. You guys are walking sponges.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes if you don't see it, think of all the emotions that you're feeling, just like walking outside. There was times I had to learn how to walk through a Walmart because everybody's stuff was coming at me. The time I left Walmart, I was so drained and I was so angry at the world. And there was nothing wrong. I got to the point, by the time I got to the third aisle, I had Walmart rage, and it's just kind of like, because you're getting everybody's stuff and you don't think about it. You're like, you're just going on with your day, but you do have to protect yourself even in those situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I point at her because she's like at a Stop and Shop when we go grocery shopping. And I'm
Anywhere, right?
negative in Stop and Shop.
I can't help it. It just turns me.
It gets her angry.
Yeah, it gets me.
Yeah,
angry.
Yeah,
it does.
yeah, but she has abilities too. Like we've talked about that before privately.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't doubt that that's why maybe sometimes like you turn like a switch sometimes.
Yeah.
Too.
I'm kind of guilty of suppressing my
Yeah.
abilities. So
Yeah.
I kind of.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
The way you
Mhm.
explained it, and
Yeah.
it just makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great question.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was from Candy Slater, by the way. Thank you for that question. Yeah.
I am so gonna get her.
yeah.
Just see the next questions.
Another question. How about investigating with VAG powder?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So
That is.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
I can use the word badge, right?
Oh,
so
that.
VAG. Okay, my bad.
He doesn't know about things.
So here's the thing. We were about to go on an investigation. And I do like to bring some of the old school type of investigations with us. Not all technology using our phones, because sometimes you just don't know is what you're getting. So they're like, they said something about getting the powder because we like using baby powder.
Okay.
Wasn't paying attention, thought I can't find it. So I just grabbed Summer's Eve, Cool Breeze, Mad Powder. And yeah, we used it. So it was funny to us, but didn't realize we were on, I believe it was like a podcast radio show, and was asked about the vag powder. And I'm like, so now we carry it in our gear and we use it because, hey, you might not get the footprints, but you'll know something went through it because you'll get that smell of the cool breeze or whatever scent you might like.
Yeah.
So I definitely the vag powder, and I never thought nothing about it until they asked me. And my first podcast was, I should have just said Summer's Eve and wasn't thinking. I'm like, yeah, I take vag powder to my paranormal investigations, and there was silence.
That's hysterical.
That would definitely be my blooper, but it's became a thing now.
You should patent it.
I think so, right? I mean, because it works.
Sell it to paranormal teams,
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Us paranormal teams are always
it's the hot new thing.
Yeah, or perverted.
Hey, I'm about to call Summer's Eve and say we need, paranormal vag powder for all our investigations, and have my own line, right?
Yeah. The things that we go through as teams, you gotta have a sense of humor, though. You gotta, we have to have each other's backs. We want the unknown, and there's very dark situations that you don't know that you're gonna run into. So you gotta watch out for each other. You gotta, like you said, you gotta lighten the mood.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, because especially like if you're doing an event, you're there with your team.
Yeah.
And they're your trust, because when you go in the dark, you don't know who you're there with, and your team's there. So having the laughter and knowing each other, the way we move, what we do, it is extremely important. And even when you're going into people's homes, we have to remember they're calling us for help. We're not really sure what we're walking into because we're going by what they're saying, but they're still strangers at that moment. So, the whole thing of keeping everything, very high energy is the best kind of protection you can have. And that's for anybody on your team, because you all start sinking in together as one, and you become one to be able to fight what you're going after.
Right.
I agree
with that. Yeah, absolutely. What has been one of your most memorable investigations with your team, or most memorable moments for you as a psychic medium?
Well, I don't know if she's on here, so I'm going to definitely play this. So my memorable one was we actually went to a villa and we were doing some taping, and it was myself and Kelly. And this way I know when she's watching this, we were doing some filming, and of course that's where my own shadow scared me. during filming. But because I screamed and jumped, so did she. And sometimes with anxiety, your stomach does a little things, and well, a little gas came out of Kelly. And when you just stood there, and I'm trying to move on, thinking it's going to be a blooper, no one's going to do it. Cameraman and everybody just stopped and looked at Kelly. Oh, she's on. And said, "Did you just fart?" And she goes, "Oh, no, it just fell out." That was like the best moment. And I got to say, I love you, Kelly. I wouldn't have done it with anybody else because I jump of a shadow. She, followed it. And that's, like I said, we were in tune with each other. So yeah, this is going to be great, right? I'm just throwing it out there.
So funny. I love it.
But we're not just a team, we're a family.
Right.
So things like that happen, and if any paranormal investigator or anybody out there says their stomach doesn't rumble and things don't happen because you're getting worked up because you're going into uncharted territory, they're fibbing to you.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a Zach Bagans and an Aaron, all them have passed gas somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I do remember an episode where they had the FLIR or some kind of new equipment, and somebody farted and it appeared on the thermal.
Right? So it happens.
Yeah, and I don't remember which place they were at and what equipment they were using, but I do remember them laughing about it. Yeah. So you got to be careful what you do because thermal imaging can catch everything.
Yeah, and so can recorders. You thought you had an EVP and it's a stomach growling or something. Yeah,
that's funny.
It's that growl.
Yeah, like we heard a growl, the loudest growl we've ever heard in my whole entire years of investigating at St. Albans Sanatorium. And we all heard it because that's how loud it was. Like all four of us that were in the room heard it. And I was like, I swear to God, it wasn't my stomach. It wasn't me.
And I think we just had Mexican food for dinner.
Yeah, we had Mexican that night. So of course, the first thing you think of is, it's the Mexican that you eat.
Yep, and just walk in the dark, and if anything, go. Does somebody smell sulfur? Because I think there's demons in here. Works all the time.
Yeah, more like inner demons. Your inner demons are coming out, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. We're having a good time here, guys. If you're tuning in late, I always just like to throw out there. We have Michelle Roos here from Riverside, Iowa Paranormal. She's a psychic medium. If anybody has any specific questions for Michelle, now's the time to get them in before we, get down to the bottom of the show. So if you have questions, throw them out there. We'll try to get them as best we can. Who have been your good mentors for you as far as like who taught Michelle some of the great things that you've learned from? Who would you consider good mentors that would you give a big shout out to that you've learned from?
Actually, I gotta say the one that helps me through a lot when, especially like when anchoring and channeling and stuff like that. I gotta say Catherine was pretty good as a mentor. Asking the questions, because we can be very straightforward with each other. There was no, putting icing on cakes and covering things up.
Mm-hmm.
But, watching some of the older people who have done, paranormal and kind of stuck to what was meant to be done. And so taking some of that in, I like to learn from everybody. Everybody does something unique. And I take all that, in, and I will adapt it to what can be, how I can use it. Because if we spent time instead of bashing each other and learning from each other, we would be like this super powerhouse.
Oh, yeah.
And, and see, one thing I do, I don't care what kind of abilities you have. If we're together, I want to work together because you could bring something that I might not feel. Because there's times if there's a lot of negative, it will not show itself. I can tell there's something there, but I can't see it. So I would come to you guys. Okay, guys, I'm not seeing something. I need your help. because I feel like, we're going to get attacked.
Yeah.
So working together is extremely important to me.
Yeah.
And just like on our team, we have people on the team that have abilities. I want to work with them. I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. We are supposed to work as one. I think that's why more and more people are getting this awakening, because something big is coming. And I think we're all supposed to be used in different ways of doing things like that, whether it's to help people re-navigate the new norm, or is it because more of the negative energy is coming in and now we got to prepare for that kind of spiritual warfare. But we have to help each other. And so my mentors have been a little bit of everybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
it does. That's
nice.
That's
honorable to say of you, and very humble. And, that's one of the things why I respect you as a person.
Well, thank you.
And that's wonderful. And I agree. I think everybody brings something different to the table. I used to be, when I was younger, and she can attest to this, when I was younger, I used to be very different in the field. I used to be competitive maybe sometimes, and I changed that because I saw that I could learn this from this person. I could learn this from this person. I never learned these things before from these people. And I thought, wow, what a great way of learning from all those different types of people, of things that I wanted to learn myself. And I wasn't going to get anywhere if I were to stay in that mindset of being competitive. And I just completely changed. I became more open about working with different people than I ever used to be when I was younger. So I think if more and more people would look at it that way, I think it would be a better place in the paranormal community overall.
I think overall that it's changed that way. I think years ago, I think in the beginning it was kind of competitive and everybody was territorial and, this is my location. I don't want you coming here and this and that. But now I think a lot of people, everybody works together, and I like
for the most part.
Yeah.
On the most part, you still have some people who lift their legs and pee on it and say it's mine.
Right.
Yeah.
But hey, one day we'll all be able to do it.
Right. Exactly. There is another question from Cindy Brown. Did you ever have visions of yourself living in a different century?
Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of times when I do remote viewing and stuff like that, if it's part of a past life reading, I end up back there and see myself to kind of get an idea of what years, the year range. So I have to actually, kind of get myself in that position. So I have seen that. There are people out there with abilities. When they see it with their psychic abilities, they see themselves there. But what they're doing is they're actually seeing it through the eyes of that spirit. So the spirit is showing them this is what this is, and they're seeing it that way. And that's kind of what I do when I do the remote. I put myself there. And so I'm seeing like I'm in that place.
Right. It's so cool. The whole remote thing, that was new to me when I started doing remote with certain people, and I couldn't believe that I could remote read people. And when I was reading a certain person, she couldn't believe I was doing it remotely, because she was the type of person where she doesn't let a lot of people read her. Like, she blocks it off. And I was so surprised that I could do remote. I think remote is so fascinating how you can do things remotely.
And it still kind of scares me sometimes when I do it, because when I'm telling somebody what the inside of their home looks like, you're like, I wonder if this is legal. Can they get me for trespassing, right?
Yeah.
So
should we have attorneys?
Right. But sometimes you have to do that, because if you are trying to help people, whether they've had attachments or different things, you kind of have to get yourself in that position so you know how to help that person fight what needs to be done.
Right.
A lot of people think after having an attachment removed that it's the end all of end all. Well, it isn't, because sometimes that attachment can be moved somewhere. And again, negative energy can definitely stay dormant for many, 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 many years. And people think, oh, it's gone. Sometimes it can hide, and something will trigger it to start showing itself. So I try to stay with them or be at least in contact, because I want to make sure they stay strong. You have to stay strong spiritually to help keep that away. Whether that's taking
Right.
yourself out of different things of, if there's a lot of drama and things like that, to kind of, you know, you got to keep building it up. People think, that's just like when we talk about people with oppression and different things. It's a continuous process.
Yeah, yeah. What's your thoughts on paranormal teams? And this is kind of a gray area for me personally, but I have a different opinion about teams doing private home investigations. What are your thoughts about doing private home investigations? Do you think it's a good thing, bad thing? Do people do more harm than good, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think people need to do their homework. I don't feel, here's the thing, there's a lot of people who need help. And if you're true to the cause of what you're doing and you're not looking for the spotlight, then you need to go. And again, just like how we do it, we don't just get a phone call and we are like, okay, we'll be there tomorrow. And we come loaded up in our ghost mobile and start doing things. There is a strong, we do a long process and a strong one. We get into these people's lives. We probably know more about them than anybody else besides maybe their psychiatrist. That's way we know how to help them. And we actually prepare them before we come. We do video chats. We make them stronger. So if there is something there, that they're not going to get attacked. So we build it all up prior to going.
That's
and
good.
I think, I think everybody should be doing it. Probably not. But again, I can't stop that. I just hope that people would take the time to actually, get all the information before they go. Because you got to remember, you're dealing with people's lives.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes if that is an attachment or, some type of oppression, now you're on a different realm. And if you don't have the experience to deal with it, you should be, big enough to say, this is something I can't do. Let me get somebody I know that can help us do it. Yeah. And I do that a lot. I will bring people in from all over because I'm like, okay, I can't do this on my own. I might have to do this.
Yeah.
You cannot be scared or think too highly of yourself that you don't do that.
And I wish more people would do that because, like I was saying, sometimes you can do more harm than good. And if you can't help those people, it's okay to say that you can't help them. So you're gonna have to find somebody else who is better at that.
We've done that.
Yeah, we've done that. We've passed on
a couple.
We've passed on a few where we were like, we want to help you, but we'll help you by giving you to somebody who we think will better help you in that situation.
Yes. And you have to do that because really what you're telling that family is that you really cared and you're actually getting the help that they need.
Right. Exactly. So that's where my opinion lies with like private homes. The other thing that bothers me a little bit about it is people that get excited about doing a private home investigation. And it's okay to get excited. Yeah, you're going on an investigation with your team and whatever. And I'm all for that. But you're going into a serious situation where you're going into a family's home and you got to be careful how you bring in your attitude. It's good to bring in good energy, but these people are afraid and, they are bringing you into their home and I think they should be like tread lightly,
Yes. Yes. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to be responsible basically for, their well-being and mental health, kind of, sort of.
Right.
Well,
A lot of the
it all ties in together, really, so.
And people forget that piece, they think it's just a haunted location.
Right.
But you don't understand the mental stress that family is going through. So you have to look at that side too, when you have a family that's been loving and always great, and now they're to the point where they hate each other and stuff. We talk about different types of PTSD, with the wartime. It's a true thing in the paranormal too. True hauntings of that type of darkness will give it to you. And you're going to still have that, shell shock kind of effect because you're afraid that as soon as it's gone, is it going to come back? And so sometimes that'll break you down and put you right back in the situation to have it. And that's why if you're doing this, you need to be prepared to, after you do the investigation, after you do the cleansing, that you're still available, because they're going to need that little bit of, and you can't counsel if you're not a counselor or certified. Let me make that clear.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can still be the voice on the other side, reassuring them everything's going to be okay until they get past that hump.
Amen.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think. I had another good question, but I lost it.
Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again. Do you have any questions?
Well, what do you have like upcoming? What's on your bucket list? Maybe.
Well, we got some events coming up. The team will be doing some events. Let's see. My biggest thing, which I'm excited. I am one part of Daughters of Hecate, which you guys know. You've talked to my counterpart. We're actually doing an amazing tour in Scotland in 2022.
I'm so
I know, and I'm so excited for doing it, because we're going to the areas where the witch trials, where the persecutions and different things like that,
Right.
and to be able to kind of bring life and voices to those that have never had a voice. You think about it, they're definitely got a story to tell, and I am excited to try to bring that to life. And with Catherine being there, we're going to be able to bring this new story of what happened and where and how. It's going to be an amazing, amazing experience.
Yeah.
Will this be the only trip that you guys are doing?
Oh, no.
You think you'll repeat it again the following year?
Well, we'll probably go to some other places. We're talking about Spain.
Nice.
We're talking about doing some stuff in Salem, trying to different locations to do those. But these are like really VIP type of treatment. Everything's paid for. And we're going to places that you can't just always walk up to.
Right.
I mean, right now, it looks like Candy put the link on there. Yep. But if you go to mysteriousAdventuretours.com, there's all different tours on there. I mean, there's one on Halloween in New Orleans, so there's different ones for other people. Courtney's got a great one coming up during Labor Day weekend. Going back to Gettysburg, she gives a voice to all those who lost their lives there. It is an amazing tour, so it's enriched with history. But with her being a medium, and Catherine being mediums, we're going to bring that voice alive. So everything's going to come and people are going to experience like we do.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, like Scotland, Ireland, and Germany is on my bucket list for 2022.
Yeah, I know, that is.
I'm trying really hard to put that on my list of things before I get.
You just have to do it, because I will tell anybody that's listening, you're not paying for this up front. It is, you're not paying interest. You put $100 down to lock you in. And then September, you start making payments. So even if it's like 2023, you can still lock it in and not make payments until 2022 before you go. And, $100 to $120 a month, we can all budget that somewhere.
That's doable.
And so it's very doable, because you can do it monthly to make your bucket list dream come true.
Yeah. And move in more, because you're cutting yourself off.
Oh.
Yeah, she's cut off.
She was getting excited. She was already heading to Scotland.
I know. I was packing my bag.
I know. Well, I'm Western European. I'm Scottish. I'm Irish, and I'm German. So it's my heritage. So I want to visit, my heritage land before I get too old and not be able to do it anymore. But before it's too late. So we're gonna try.
All you can do. I mean, think about it. That's with all the work and hard work you do every day. We work for everybody else.
Yes.
This is something for yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And I think that's kind of why I was telling her, like, why I felt the need to connect with World's Largest Ghost Hunt and people that we work with, because I do feel a connection with, like, I feel something's gonna happen. So that's why I'm like, I think we should stick with this.
This year I think something wild's going to happen. I've been feeling it. I can feel it up in the skies. It's going to be exciting because Catherine, being on the metaphysical committee, and I'm there with her,
Right.
but she's actually doing her part of getting everybody, like I said, work together as one. So when they all come together during that night, the skies are going to open. We don't know what's going to come through.
Yeah.
And to be having everyone do it around the world.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is like the most amazing thing that's going to happen. And I got to say, Matt, you've been busting your butt doing all this, helping make this. So I want to thank you because my banners look pretty good.
Yeah, he has been working very hard every night.
Yes. So
That.
thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I still have a lot of work ahead of me. I'm not done. So
we all do. But like I said, it's going to feel so insane.
Yep.
It's like buying your first house. All you do is do, and don't know if there's an end. But that end is going to be our key.
Yep.
And we're going to open it all up. So
yeah,
we're going to be all on that crazy train together.
Yeah. I just I want everybody to be happy with what we are putting out there. And I think what we have is something really special and something good.
Yes.
And you can't dismiss that,
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, it's for a good cause,
Well, it is, but it also, people say para-unity is not a word. It might not be a word. It's a word for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can all do something together as one and help, the restoration of some of these historical places, then I think our job has been done. Will everybody like us? No. Do I really care? No. Because I know in my heart what I'm doing and what I'm bringing to the table for the world's largest ghost hunt, it's supposed to be. Right. And so I'm going to follow what I need to do, but I will be a backup for all of you guys, everyone that's working on it. And that's just how I kind of work. And you'll notice Catherine's the same way. And pretty much everybody on the world's largest ghost hunt has got that same kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Yes, you all are working so hard.
And we mesh so well together.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been so great working with everybody.
Well, yeah, you let me talk about badge powder on your show. I mean, how much better can you mesh?
Well, that's why it's called Uncharted Conversations.
Yes.
Right?
Because those things are allowed here. Yeah. So, but it's been great. Where can people follow you? You want to plug your website, your team, anything else going on?
Well, it's being plugged the whole time we've been on. But they can go to riversideiowa.paranormal.org, and that is our website. It shows all our chapters. It has bios of everybody on the team. We also have application there to fill out if you ever need any kind of help. And we also have our events on there. If you are interested in coming to our events, and our events, I want to explain real quick. We do small events. What we do with those events is 50% of the proceeds we get from the tickets go back to the location. That helps the location going. The other 50% actually goes into a fund. So when we do go help people in need, we're not having to worry about, we don't charge anybody for our services. So that money helps our investigators if they need to spend the night somewhere or if they need gas. So this way we're helping two different people.
Right.
But when we're doing our event, we're doing it with all the folks, but we're also teaching them different techniques. Because you don't always have to go bombarding like Rambo into a haunted location and say, I command you to give me your name, right?
Yeah.
So it's also teaching, but again, we're learning too, because somebody might be bringing in a new gadget or has a different way of asking questions, because I'm sorry, but spirits tell me a lot of times, so how old are you? Do you know where you're at?
Yeah.
Sometimes I want you guys to know I can see these things. And when spirits laughing at investigators, like, what are you doing? Those are learning points.
Right.
So That's
Learning
kind of
curve.
like, and so we use that in our event, but we always keep small. We normally 15 to 20 tops, depending on the location, because people who are buying these tickets are still getting treated as VIP, because we're not doing it to make a quick buck. We're doing it to help two places.
Right.
And if people are interested in any of our events, all they got to do is go to thriller.events. You're going to see all the events from the world's largest ghost hunts on there, so people can actually join during that at any of those events.
Yep.
And during the world's largest ghost hunt, if they buy tickets, 100% of all ticket sales go back to that location. So people all around the world can buy tickets off of Thriller events to go and support all these places and have some fun with us. I mean, we might all go out for Mexican food. You never know. And I'll bring the powder.
You have to,
Right? Oh, man. Yeah, Candy's been putting all the links there.
Oh, good.
So,
yeah.
It'll be there. So anybody's welcome to go and find out
on
Haas Paranormal Facebook page. So it'll be posted there.
Or you can go back and watch a replay, and I think you can see the chat in the replay, and you can get all the info.
And just share.
You gotta beat Catherine's 99 shares.
Nah, no pressure, right?
Well, I just saw that. It blew me away. I was like, what? 99? I'm like, what?
I'm going to do 99 and a half. Just to make it odd.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like a telethon.
Yeah,
to
right.
Get people on the phones.
All right.
Remember, guys, we're trying to beat 99. So whoever's watching, start sharing it.
Yeah.
I mean, share it with your doctor. I don't care.
Right. Real quick, before we say goodnight to everybody, how was Phenom? I know Phenom was this weekend, right?
Yes, it was. It was amazing. Meeting new people, getting a lot of wonderful, advice from people, like Johnny Sathis and Andrea Perrin, and which are also, like Andrea's an ambassador, but to see things from their side and getting some of that education, I was like on cloud 9. But everybody was so friendly. Everybody spoke to everyone. Not one person thought they were better than anybody else. A lot of laughs, a lot of complaining because we could never find a good cup of coffee when we needed it. But I think that was it. But I gotta say, if you've never been to it and you're able to go next year, I would recommend people going, because it's just an amazing experience, and you get the chance to sit and talk to these people. The lectures that you hear, the stories of what happened, Andrea with the Conjuring House, Carmen with Haunting in Connecticut, just to hear how did they get in the field, what brought them there. So I met some great people. I definitely would go back if, they asked me to.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's good.
We went to
one.
I think it was the first one they had.
It was the first or the second one.
Yeah, it was great.
Years ago.
I'll always remember it. It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Well, if I go back, you guys better show up. So this way we can go for that good cup of coffee or a Stella, right?
Right. All right. So we're gonna say our goodbyes here with everybody. Michelle, if you'd like to stay on just for a couple of minutes, we'll say our goodbyes after the show. But I'm thankful and grateful, for your services out in the paranormal field, and you're a very honorable and humble psychic medium that works in the field. Thank you for what you do, and it was great having you on the show.
Thank you, and I want to thank everybody who was on the show with us, and sending you guys all my love. And share away 99. 99.
Share away, guys.
All right.
And thanks so much for listening.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, Michelle, I'm gonna minimize you here, and we'll say our last thing here. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed our guest, the psychic medium, Michelle Roos from Riverside, Iowa Paranormal.
I know we did.
We had a great time. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. Talking about vag powder. Well, I called it vag powder. So she's got to coin it. She's got to patent that. So she's got something going there. Anyway, guys in the chat, thanks for the questions. Thanks for tuning in and listening. You made it a very entertaining night for everybody. Thanks for your support. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Go to our website, haasparanormal.com. Pretty easy to remember. Guys, visit Kingsland Manor, Nutley, New Jersey. We want to plug, where I'm hosting my Haunted Objects Museum in the basement of a very old building that was built in the late 1700s. I want to plug Leon and all what they do there at Kingsland Manor.
They're awesome.
They're awesome, so spread the word about them. They're trying to get a new roof on the building, and it's hard, with a historic building. They have, some difficulty with getting a new roof.
Yeah, so go take a tour, go donate.
Yeah, go donate something. So
every little bit helps.
Yeah, we might do a fundraiser in August. We might have a cookout at Kingsland Manor to try to help raise funds for them. Because, again, it's for, a good cause. All the proceeds will go to Kingsland Manor. And we're trying to help them out, with all their repairs and stuff, because they need it. So, I don't know, anything else?
Yeah, I think that wraps it up.
That's it. That wraps it up. Guys, next week, we have one more psychic medium on our podcast. We have KD Foreman from California. We can't wait to have her on next Thursday. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but next Wednesday, I'm sorry. All right. So, with that said, guys, bless you all. Have a good night. And I'm going to play our video here, and that'll be it. All right.